Hello and welcome. In today's video, we will be trying out these 3 paper surfaces along with the most important thing, well, equally important thing, new paint. This was all featured in my Christmas art haul video, so I will link that in the corner for you, and if I remember, the description box below. Enough talking, let's get painting. I am so excited that it is swatch time. However, I did rearrange these. I don't know what the colors actually look like out of here. The yellow ochre, I'm wondering if I should have moved it over towards the browns, but I don't know. I usually put them together if I have my choice. I put my yellows together, reds, even though Indian red is a little bit brown, I put it with the reds. The greens, blues, I put Payne's Gray with blue because it usually tints blue, and then the browns. So let's see what they look like on paper. And I did not open my new Etcher sketchbook because there's no reason to. I am just using my old one, which is exactly the same. You guys will get to see what that looks like if for some reason an Etcher sketchbook is new to you. All right, I have my Winsor & Newton size 10 round, and let's get started. So on these, there are no instructions in the box, the package it came in. The information on the bottle itself just tells you about the paints themselves, and that's really interesting. I'll read that to you later. But what I can see in this yellow ochre is that the pigment is separated. You can definitely see it in that shot there. And so I'm assuming that we need to shake these, and so I will shake them all. It will cause air bubbles, but hopefully with the dropper I can get down below the air bubbles for the most part and pull out some good paint. So we'll shake it up and see. Yeah, there's still a ton of separation there, so they might need a lot of shaking. I wonder if they need stirred, not shaken. I don't know why I find that funny every time, but I do. Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to get that shaken up. The others don't really look like that, but the other colors are a little bit darker and hard to tell if there is any pigment separation. It's just this yellow ochre that's really, really noticeable on the side of the bottle there. So let me open it. It's always dangerous to open it over your sketchbook and just kind of scrape this across there and see. Yeah, it just feels rock hard over there. So we just may use it as is with the part that I could shooken up, and go from there. We are starting out with the Hansa Deep Yellow, which has pigment information. This one doesn't have pigment information like the other ones. Interesting. Well, so much for that, but it's light, fast, transparent, brilliant, permanent, high density, intermixable, and blendable. Next is the yellow ochre, and the pigment says it is yellow 42 with light fast of number 1. Next is permanent red, and it also has no pigment information, so I'll read you what it says on the bottle. Hydrus Fine Art Watercolor is made from the finest artist pigments which have been chosen for extreme light fastness and brilliance. Hydrus gives to the watercolorist a new freedom to blend and intermix while maintaining the transparency and luminosity of the color. Titanium white can be intermixed to achieve an opaque gouache watercolor. This one is the alizarin crimson, which also has no pigment information on the bottle. Interesting. This one here is Indian red, which says the pigment is red 179, light fast number 1. And here we have Viridian green, which is PY3 and PG7 with a light fast number 1. Next here is sap green, which has no information on the bottle again, so I'll be curious to do my light fast test in the future. This one here is cobalt blue, and there's no information on this bottle. If I had more time, I would go to their website and see what I could find out, but I'll have to do that later. And here we have Payne's Gray, which also has no information on the bottle. Dang it all. I wish I had more time today. This one is Burnt Sienna. No information on the bottle. Surprise, surprise. These are manufactured in Golden, Colorado, which is not too far from where I live. There's a little interesting tidbit for you. This one is Burnt Umber. No information on the bottle. Dang it all. This one is Sepia. Pigment. Brown 7. Light fast 1. Why don't they label all their bottles? I'm sure there's a reason. And I'll probably find out sometime after I've published this video, and I'll have to do an update for you guys. Maybe. Probably. Yeah. Next, I did a water dispersion test. I was just curious, and I had room on my piece of paper there to do it, so I just laid down a bunch of water, not a bunch, I just laid down a layer of water on the paper in that block there, and then just drop in some drops of the paint. And so the water has a sheen, but it is not sopping wet, so just a nice sheen, and it soaks into this Etchr watercolor paper really quickly, so it's pretty easy to get that way. And you can see that a couple of them really spread and some just spread so-so. So it's kind of a mixed bag, but overall I would say the spreading is more than the non-spreading, that's for sure. And this is what all that gorgeousness looks like after the tape is taken off and things dry. There is something funky about the very top edge of my Etcher sketchbook right there. I think that paper just had a defect in that up there. But other than that, this is how they look. They dry very matte and they're beautiful. They're vibrant and lovely. So I did find out you could put the bottles in these little holes and they will stand upright and be pretty wiggle proof. And then you could use these other holes for dropping your paint in if you wanted to use this plastic as a palette. These do not fit in these holes, however. I don't know. I don't think I would use it like that unless I just didn't have anything else around. On to the papers. I've used this Etcher sketchbook a lot with you guys. Not with this paint other than the swatch, of course. But I think because I am not feeling well and just kind of want to go lay down, but I really want to use this paper, I'm going to skip doing it in the Etcher sketchbook, other than swatches, of course. But I will do one of these two Etcher blocks because they're exactly the same paper, just different sizes. And I will try to use this Arches Rough and the glitter paper, which is kind of too much, but that's okay. I will try. This is what I thought maybe I could do for the glitter paper. This is a picture that I took myself when I was up snowmobiling, and the snow was just shining, and so what I did was pull out my Acrylics powder that I had kind of made into watercolor paint and put a shine over the snow. So I thought this would be a good painting to redo on the glitter paper that we have from Paul Rubens. However, I don't know where the original photo is. It's either lost on my phone or on my storage hard drive, and I don't want to go look for it, so I'm just going to use this painting itself as a reference, which isn't great to do in my opinion, but that's what I'm going to do. Now keep in mind, this is not just new paper for me, but this is also new paint. So it's a little bit hard to tell how one or the other is when everything you're working with is new. So I have some ideas and some thoughts at the end that I will share with you, but I definitely need to do a lot more testing with this paper individually and the paint individually, and then kind of make a decision based on that. So subscribe down below and you'll get all those updates as I come across them, basically as I have time to do them, which I'm hoping to get another one done this month. Also keep in mind, I am not feeling my best. So these I am treating more like doodle paintings rather than serious paintings, which is not how I wanted to present these to you for the first time, but I figured some playing with these is probably better than none, and at least you'll get something out of this. This is not quite dry, but I think I'll take the tape off anyway. In the meantime, let me show you the original one. Now, I don't have any bright yellows in this set, so I did order a bright yellow already. This, I was able to put the sparkles just down on the bottom because of using the Acrylics powder, right? And I did put snow on these trees. I'm not going to put snow on these trees, just pretending it's later in the year and most of the snow is falling off the trees and it's getting melty. So for not having any bright yellows, I think we did okay. I probably might darken some of these edges. Oh, shoot. I always do that. I don't know. I might leave it. I don't know. But you can see that the sparkles over the entire painting, of course, not just the bottom half, so it doesn't quite work for the snow thing like I wanted it to. I knew that would be the case. I do love the sparkle in here, so I need to come up with some more ideas for things to use on this sparkle paper because I do like it. Now, I can't tell. I did have some issues when I put the paint on. What I need to do is I need to use this sparkle paper with other paint that maybe I'm more used to and kind of compare that. It worked nicely. This Hydrus paint kind of, I don't want to say fades because it doesn't really fade, but it kind of fades into a matte finish. So not shiny, and you can definitely see that in the swatches. And I kind of like that. It's going to make things really easy to photograph, but you have to plan for that. Anyway, I put the wet over wet into the trees here, and it definitely did lighten up quite a bit. Paper's ripping a little bit, but I'm not at all being careful. There we have it. And I tried to keep the side of the trees that was facing the brightest area, the sunset, lighter by doing the darker over on the opposite side. So maybe it kind of looks like they have some snow on them. I don't think so, but that's okay. But not too bad for just a doodle painting. I think we should definitely try the back side of this one, since it is just a doodle sketch and I'm not attached to it. We'll definitely try the back side of this in another video when I do the comparison of what I feel like with my regular paints on this paper versus these Hydrus paints. So I think we'll do a side-by-side comparison. I do have at least 4 other videos that have to come before that because of promises I've made to certain people. But anyway, subscribe down below if you're new and you don't want to miss that comparison, because it will be up, but it'll be a while. But I do have some other great videos that'll be in between. What should we try next? Let's try the Etchr watercolor block, the 6x6. All right, so the block itself comes in the box, wrapped in plastic. So it's very well protected coming from far away like that. So I'm trying to see where the part is where you take this off. So this entire side, except the very edges, are unglued. So basically this is a block that's glued on 3 sides. At least my block is only glued on 3 sides. You can see that's completely free except for the corners. All right, well, I usually use my ruler to get this first, well, to get all of the things off of the blocks, because my ruler is soft and I know it won't damage the paper. Ah, both sides are free. So this is a block that's only glued on 2 sides. Interesting. I always keep this. I believe it's acid free. That has to be against the paper, right? Yep, both sides are not glued, so it's just glued top and bottom. Interesting. I wonder how that'll work out. So what I have done, because I'm not feeling my best, is I've gone online and just Googled watercolor paintings and trying to find things that will work with the colors that I have with this Hydrus paint. And I will try this with regular paint too, but not today. I need to go lay down. Watercolor painting is super relaxing, but at the same time, it does mean I have to be upright. So I would like to lay down at some point today. Anyway, I'm going to put a little bit more of color in a few of these. I noticed when I re-wet the dried up Hansa Deep Yellow, it did not work. I had to put fresh paint in, but the Payne's Gray did reactivate. So I don't think they all reactivate very well. Anyway, I don't know if I finished my thought, but I just Googled, and I'm going to be basically copying a painting from Jennifer Branch. Let me see if I can show it to you. That painting there, I thought would be kind of fun and easy. I always think that, but then it always takes me a long time. So beautiful painting. It will work well with the colors I have in the set. And I started out by taking my large hockey brush and just covering the whole piece of paper with water. And I tell you, it made me so nervous having those 2 edges just open. They're not glued or anything. Anyway, I talk about that a little bit more later. So you'll hear more thoughts about those 2 open edges. And I'm just laying in the colors. And it's so cool to watch how they bleed. These bleed extra, in my opinion. I think they bleed a little bit more than some of the regular watercolors that I've used. So I will be interested in the future to keep testing that theory, see if that's actually happening or not. I'm going to call it good for now. That was really fun. I did not feel like I was working on non-cotton paper, so the fact that the 50% cotton thing seemed to be a good combination here. I might want to tape the sides when I paint next time, because of course any paint that you put off on the edge will go down into those other non-glued pages on both sides. See how I have stains now on both of those? And I often do that on blocks. It's just this is going to be a little more tricky because it's a bigger surface area than just the little piece that's usually. About the Hydrus paints, they fade a lot. So when I was saying fading before, I guess that is accurate. That's not exactly what the context was that I was talking about previously with the glitter paper, but basically, if you don't use them neat, if you have water in the background, they are going to fade a lot. And a lot of people might consider that a good thing because these are extremely concentrated and very bright, very deep in color. I guess just know that if they are put in water, they will become quite a bit lighter. I think they're gorgeous, and I can't wait to get them in the window and do light fast testing on them to see how their light fast claim really is. So we will be doing that as well, not today. The fact that this is glued just on the 2 edges, we'll see how this dries. Right now it's buckled a bit, and we'll paint on the rough paper and check back in on this one after that. I cut my 9x12 rough paper in half because I want to do a good job on my rough paper and just not in the frame of mind feeling like I'm going to create a masterpiece right now. So anyway, cut it in half so that we can test it out, but maybe not waste an entire sheet of it. It's quite expensive. There's only 12 sheets in that pad. And Irene over at Inkworks, I'll link her channel below. She's a hoot. You guys should check her out if you haven't. She mentioned that the Arches Rough feels like sandpaper. Can you hear that? So let's compare that to the Paul Rubens. All right, let's start over. Compare it to Paul Rubens. I don't know. They sound the same. Compare it to the Etcher. Oh, the Etcher sounds smooth, but it is painted on, so maybe that's why. We'll see, we'll see. But yeah, it's rough, it's bumpy. Let's just paint and see. I'm going to keep this one more real time. Did I already say that? I don't know. I'm going to use the permanent red, except I think it might be a little more red than I want, and this brush is bigger than I want. So I've put a little drop of the alizarin crimson in here as well. I'm just getting my brush wet, but I don't want to add a bunch of water to the paint right now, and these are fresh drops, so I'm just going to mix those a bit together. You can see it changed the hue just a tiny bit. I think I'll be happier with that. I may add more alizarin crimson later, but for now that's good. Scoot this out of the way, and I'm just doing a simple bird. I don't know my birds, but it's a bird. Let's see what we can come up with. My cat, well, not my cat, my son's cat, little Pill, jumped up on here a second ago and got hair everywhere. He is a furry little guy. So what I'm doing is just putting in the neat color. So neat is undiluted. And I think I should have masked off that entire eye, not just the outline. That would have been a lot easier, but that's okay. I did mask off some stuff, by the way. You probably figured that out already. So it's rough paper, but I feel like now I'm going into a little bit more unmixed red, lightening it up a bit. Anyway, I'm feeling like that it doesn't feel a whole lot different. I think it's just maybe eating up my paint a little faster than not rough. That's about it. Okay, let's see how this will let it move or not. Get a little bit more paint down here. So you can see I get dry brush effect a lot more quickly because it's soaking up that pigment to all those lovely watercolor fibers. And I think I'll take my really big hockey brush. Maybe not. I'm going to take this little hockey brush that doesn't work all that great. It's not bad. And kind of come in here, pull color out. Now there's something interesting on this paint. It says that it's permanent. Pretty sure one of the bottles says that. Yeah, it says it's permanent pigments. So I was kind of curious if this could lift or not once it was put on, and then on the Etcher paper that I tried, it was liftable, if that's a word. But you can see that it's not lifting great. I don't need it to lift. I was just curious about that whole permanent, not permanent thing. I'm just going to bloosh some red around here and there. Let's see. Let's grab the brush again and some actual paint. Now that we have some wet areas, give this some definition. There, that's cool. Fill that in. Get the hockey brush cleaned out and just kind of let this come out. And I think I have more I want to do with the red, but I think while this is still somewhat damp, I'm going to come into the Payne's Gray. Payne's Gray, I put a little more fresh paint in there just to be safe. And we're going to go back around this nose. Yeah, it dried up pretty quickly there, but I can get a great dry brush effect with this paper, so it's actually working out kind of perfectly. I need a little more water in my brush. I don't necessarily need to dilute the paint, but I need water in my brush in order for the paint to move. Now I'm diluting my brush, getting most of the paint out of it. I'm going to grab a little more red here. It's a little wetter down there, and my brush is wet. That's kind of neat. A little wing, it's about here, based on where the leg position is. Nice. Pull some of those out like that. That's a little much. A little shadow by this leg. All right, so if the paint is wet, it really spreads, but when the paint is more dry, it does not. So that's kind of interesting. I'm going to spatter, and I'm going to put some blue in there. I didn't put any fresh cobalt blue in here, so we'll see if it reconstitutes. It's probably been an hour since that sat there. I had a delay with the sheriff came and did a VIN inspection for me, so I had to be outside for quite a while that was going on. So it's been an hour probably. I'm going to add some red. Oh, I love it. This is not necessarily in the reference photo, but guess what? I don't care. I'm gonna blur this out a bit. Get some of the blue kind of spreading out. I want that leg to be well defined, but I think I need to wait for it to dry a bit. I'm gonna grab some Payne's Gray and make just a little bit darker here and there. What I will do now is take some of this blue water in the brush, dilute it, batter it just a little bit. I want some spatters on the bird. It's not happening very well. So that means my paint was really wet there. It really spread out. Interesting. Interesting how it behaves. All right, now I want some purple. So I'll grab some of the blue. It's very watery in there. Some of this mixture here. Dab my brush off. It's a little too wet. You can see I barely dabbed it, but that's what it needs. Get me some shadows in the beak, a little bit up here. Water the brush and kind of let it bleed. We'll do a little bit of a Payne's Gray purpley outline up there. Dipping my hand in everything because why not? Why not? Why not? Not letting it touch the watery parts for the record. Grab some of the actual red. And could use a little more tail down here. I think that's probably dry enough. I can add in the blue that I want. Whew, bright. Yeah, we need to dilute that. There, perfect. Grab some Payne's Gray. Make this shadow come down. Give him some definition. That kind of looks like a cat's claw. Get some of this blue in the eye. Some of the Payne's Gray. Hopefully the masking fluid does its job. Some more shadow there. Ooh, he looks angry. Love it. All right, now what? Fix-ish that. So I'm not really noticing that I'm working on rough paper. Like my brush maybe is sounding scratchier than normal, but it's kind of fun. I'm liking it. So these bleed into each other a lot, these kind of paints, so be careful with that. I'm gonna grab some more really diluted blue, kind of get some more. All right, that's good. We don't want to do too much. Okay, let's pull off the masking fluid and the tape and see what we've come up with. So I think because of the style of painting I didn't really notice anything being different about the rough paper than just paper that I use normally. So probably have to just keep doing more paintings with it. Oh darn. You'll notice as I was pulling off the masking fluid over there, that paint is pretty thick where I did the spatters, and it did smear it. So I might try and smear it the other direction, get it pointing away from my bird a little bit. So I think that it's probably a paint that needs sealed or something. That pretty well covers it, and we can just go back and kind of refine that eye a little bit. Basically, I just want to soften that masking edge. All right, good enough. Pull off this carefully this time would be nice. So it looked like it dried completely flat, but as I'm pulling the tape off, it's showing its little bit of buckling. So just like normal other 140-pound paper, you would want to flatten this before putting it in a frame. It is buckled, even though it's dry, completely dry. Let's go back to that etcher paper. You can see the edges are kind of buckled up. See that? I'll pull it off and you can see that a little bit better. So you can see the edges are just curled in. Those are the two edges that were not glued down. But it was nice not to have to tape it. However, again, if you want to frame this, I would suggest flattening it using that watering method and then squishing with heavy stuff before putting it in a frame. That's what I did with my bricks and wood painting. I'll link that up in the corner for you if you haven't seen that. The paper itself, though, I felt like I was painting on cotton paper, so that's kind of interesting. I will definitely be doing a lot more painting on those Etchr watercolor blocks. I just need to see. That was with paint I'm not even familiar with, and I will be using it with my regular paint that I am familiar with. More of this, who knows what. There's going to be lots of painting. I mean, we got a whole brand new year to start with painting here. Here's a fun selection of everything we did today. This was really fun. I wish that I felt like I could give it 100% effort, but you know what? 3 paintings, not feeling well, wanting to go lay down, take a nap, whatever. I think this is okay. We did okay. And at least you have a video so you get to see these supplies before you forget about them. Okay, I'm gonna get this video edited and up for you guys, and then I'm gonna go take a nap or get in the sauna or boil myself in a hot bath, or maybe all 3. I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you so much for spending time with me today. Really appreciate it. Bye for now. Wait, hold on just a second. Remember, my grandma was here for the week. She actually got stranded here because it snowed 3 feet and 2 feet actually stayed on the ground, and she didn't want to go home in that kind of snow. And I don't blame her. It took us a while to get out of our own driveway. So she worked on the calendar here, and you can see this is all her coloring. And when I didn't hand her my Sketchbox art supplies, this is the one she was working on. It's really fun to see her progress on it. I think that her having this extra time has probably helped a lot. So these calendars take a long time to color, so it can be a little bit intimidating if you're trying to get it done in that actual month. So she has a little bit of head start on a couple of them, and that's great. It will cause air bubbles, but hopefully with the airdropper. Here's a bit of a selection of everything we did today. So yeah, there is no so yeah. Okay.